This has to be one of my favorite games of all time. A lot of it is because of nostalgia, but it's still a great game. When I was 7, I got a Wii, which was my first ever console. And if you had a Wii, you knew what game every Wii came with. New Super Mario Bros for the Wii. So, I grew up playing this game. I pretty much played this game for 2 years straight, and it was not easy, especially if you had to play with your siblings. But before we jump into this, if you've ever played a New Super Mario Bros game, then this game's gonna sound very similar. It's a lot of the same world themes, music, and power-ups, but the games are still different. They just have the same overall feel. And even if you have played an NSMB game, but it has been a while, I would say this game is definitely worth it. And if you've never played an NSMB game, I hope I can convince you with this video. So first, let's talk about the different worlds. Every single world has a different theme. World 3 is snow themed, which means it has ice you can slide on. And World 7 is cloud themed, so all the levels are high in the sky. So each world has something different about it. All the worlds might look cool and all, but they're definitely not all equal. And don't flame me in the comments for saying this, because I love this game as much as any of you guys do. But the first few worlds are not exciting or even creative. If my 8-year-old cousin can make a better designed level on New Super Mario Makers on his 3DS, then Nintendo's doing something wrong. And I'm mostly just talking about the first 2 worlds. I'm not saying these worlds aren't worth playing, because I definitely think they are. They just don't compare to the rest of the game. And I'm not saying once you hit World 3, the rest of the game is perfect. For crying out loud, there's still 4 darkness levels in Worlds 3 through 8. And one of those darkness levels is in water. I can tell you whoever made that level does not work at Nintendo anymore. But in general, the levels get a lot better as you go throughout the game. NSMB for the Wii is not the most creative game, but it does have its moments. If you've ever played this game, I can bet that you at least remember a few levels, even if it was a few years ago. That's because the levels were fun, creative, and challenging, and of course you'll remember it because you had a great time playing them. I'm not going to name every level I loved, but if you play this game, there are definitely a handful of levels that are almost perfect. Something else they did really well that I think goes unnoticed is the backdrop for the game. It really adds a new layer to the game that a lot of 2D platformers are missing. I just really love the open sky in World 7, especially on the castles where you can just see yourself climbing higher and higher into the sky. And granted, World 4 isn't half bad for being water themed, but they do have that one level where you have to dodge squid, which is probably one of my least favorite levels behind the dark ones. But to say the least, at least there's a lot of variety in the level design in NSMB. But even with all the different themes, there are a few things consistent in each world. There's one level in every single world that caused my mom to do a lot more laundry. This level being the ghost mansion. But me peeing my pants wasn't the only problem about this level. The ghost levels were so confusing. If you walk into the wrong door, it would take you back to the beginning. And as a 7-year-old, I couldn't remember what I did 10 seconds ago. So how was I supposed to get through this level? And half the time the clock would run out, so then 7-year-old me would have to go study a YouTube video for 10 minutes. You bet you won't catch me playing Luigi Mansion 3. Another routine thing in each world, I don't even know what you'd call these, but it's pretty much just where you have to dodge an enemy on a path you have to get across. And if you run into the enemy, you have to play a short game which consists of killing them. It's really good for getting mushrooms, which allows your character to get larger, which means you take 2 hits from enemies instead of 1. And you can also get power-ups quicker. These mushrooms are just really good in general. And while fighting the enemies, if you have enough of them on screen, you can get some 1-ups. I'm pretty sure me and my friends spent like 2 hours just farming these in World 6. They also have 2 mushroom houses in each world, which when you enter, you can play a matching game to earn power-ups. Power-ups, by the way, are just items that give your character special abilities, like being able to freeze enemies. You would try to match up all the power-ups and not match up the 2 Bowser faces. This was a lot of fun, but at the same time, I don't think I've ever yelled at my siblings more for choosing the wrong thing. They also had 1-up huts in each world where you could shoot out of a cannon and try to pop as many 1-ups as you could. But this was always a little too sweaty for me. And I would always get triggered because my friend Preston would get all the 1-ups, leaving me with nothing. And after I yelled at him for 5 minutes, he let me go first. And he still got way more than I did. Speaking about sweaty, this game was no easy task, at least for a 7-year-old. But recently, me and my friend Preston replayed the game, and I would say it's pretty easy. But you can definitely make it a lot more difficult. If you're trying to get every star in every level in every world, it can be extremely difficult, especially if you're playing solo. There are a few stars which are pretty much just suicide missions, and if you have no one else to play with, it can take a few hours just to get that 1 star. The stars can also be pretty well hidden, but not as hidden as the Wii U version. I don't even know how you're supposed to find half those stars. But for the Wii version, the stars still can be difficult, and if you don't look up a tutorial, it can take a while. But that's kind of part of the fun. I mean, personally, I don't find games fun when they're really easy. And lucky for me, every game I try is difficult, but I think that's kind of more on my end. So what do the stars do? Well, once you beat the game, and while we're talking about beating the game, the final level in the 8th world is spectacular. Having Bowser chase you while he had to dodge his fireballs was so much fun. This finale of the game is definitely the best of the NSMB games. But as I was saying, once you beat the game, there's a 9th world that pops up. And to unlock a level in that world, you have to get every single star from the world of the level that you're trying to unlock. So pretty much in the 9th world, if you want to unlock level 1, you have to get every single star from world 1. And so, since I got all the stars, I got to play all the levels in the 9th world. And these levels are really fun. They basically just did whatever they want. They all did technically have certain themes, but they were kind of all over the place, which made it fun. You never knew what you were going to get. And what I mean by this is, when I went to level 5, I thought it would be jungle themed, because World 5 is jungle themed, but it was an ice level. And don't get me wrong, these are probably the 7 hardest levels you can play in the game, but that's kind of the fun of it. And yes, I did leave one out. And because they were so hard, it made you feel accomplished and satisfied knowing that you collected all the stars. But there's something different about the very last level in the 9th world. You might think, okay, well, this is gonna be the hardest level in the entire game. I know that's what me and my friend Preston thought as we were about to play it. But you just bounce around clouds, and it's kind of a lot of fun. The 9th world really does add a new layer to this game. Unlike a lot of games which have difficulties, New Super Mario Bros does not. And most games that do this are pretty harsh, but New Super Mario Bros is pretty lenient on its newcomers. This game knows that the majority of its players, I would think at least, are under 10. Or at least when the game came out in 2009. Not just a bunch of 20-year-olds trying to beat the game in under 25 minutes. It knows that a lot of its players are going to be bad, and they're not going to know how to beat certain levels. So if you die enough times, or take too long to beat a level, a little Luigi box pops up at a checkpoint or the beginning of the game, and if you hit it, you can watch Luigi do the levels so you know what to do. This is probably one of the best ways to help new players. First of all, it doesn't get in the way of the players that are not struggling, and second, at least the players that are struggling have to try a few times before it pops up. So at least hopefully it gives them the urge to try their hardest. But also when it pops up, it's kind of the biggest troll. I've never felt more humbled in my life than when a Luigi box pops up in the middle of your game. That's when you know you messed up. And now onto the main reason why we all remember NSMB for the Wii. When the game first came out in 2009, there was one main thing that made it stand out from the rest. It's multiplayer. This was the first ever Super Mario game to have multiplayer, and it just didn't have co-op. It went the whole 9 yards. You could play up to 4 players. And the way they handle this is pretty good. Every single player is on the screen, which can be annoying at times, but it's better than having a bunch of split screens. But it comes at a cost. When you have all 4 people together, it's absolute chaos. They're running into each other, accidentally picking each other up, and jumping on each other's heads. This can make for some really funny moments, but on the other side of that, I can remember having red Wii remote marks all over my back as my siblings pounded me with the Wii remote. And after that traumatizing experience, you best know I'd be flying solo. It is really chill playing solo, and feels like a completely different game. Let's just say you ain't playing Wii boxing IRL with your siblings after every round, but solo comes at a cost. It's a lot more difficult, and if you die, you have to restart the level. This makes it really difficult to get hard to reach stars, because if you die while trying to get it, you have to restart. And this is why multiplayer is a lot easier. When you die in multiplayer, you turn into a bubble which people can revive. So it's a lot easier to get through levels with the more people you have. I think the perfect number of people to play with is 2 in total. First of all, because you don't get in each other's way as much. And second, if you die, there's still another person that can get you. But it isn't like you just breeze through with 2 people. There's a lot of points where you both die at the same time and then you have to restart. But for strategical purposes, I think 2 players is the best. My critique isn't on the actual game multiplayer, it's that they don't do anything with the mini-game multiplayer. If you've ever played this game before, you're probably wondering, wait, there's mini-games in New Super Mario Bros? And that's what I thought when I looked back at this. I think I might have played the mini-games once or twice as a kid, but they were just terrible, so I never revisited them. NSMB on the DS at least tries with their mini-games, and they're a lot of fun. I just wish the Wii version would have capitalized on the ability to have multiplayer in the mini-games. And as I'm on the slippery slope, let me tell you a few more things I wish the Wii version had done. I wish they would have been more creative with the bosses. First of all, you fight the same boss twice, which is kinda lame. You fight it in the mini castle, and then in the main castle. For the mini castles, they should have added bosses that were themed around the world like the DS did. And I'm not gonna praise the DS version too much. It definitely has its faults. I'll leave a video in the description for that. But at least you only had to jump on Bowser Jr.'s head 7 times, instead of jumping on the Koopling heads 14. After that many times, it kinda gets old. I love the castles. They were so creative and a lot of fun. It just got you so hyped up for the boss battle and then just fell flat. There were some creative boss battles, but every boss battle was generally the same. But at least they ended it on a high note with Bowser's fight. I would pay to see how high my 7-year-old heart rate was during the fight. And my heart rate was really high because of the fighting, and not because of some giant plot twist. Because if you're looking for story, you ain't in the right place. The Koopalings kidnapped Princess Peach somehow. I'm pretty sure that cake would have killed her. And we're also not going to talk about how the 2 other Toads should have been kidnapped as well. Then you chase the ship around for 8 worlds, kill Bowser, and save the princess. Plot twist! Bowser's not dead. They gotta make more games somehow. But it's a Mario game. What do you expect? But the story is not what you remember. It's the memories you make on the way. That's real deep. But I'm not just talking about good memories, because I definitely had some bad ones. Because when I was 7 and played this game, it was like Dark Souls to me. I probably spent over 300 hours on this game and still couldn't beat it. Partly because whenever I played the game, my sisters would just throw me into the void. But even without that, this game was difficult for me. But when I finally beat the game, I was so happy. I was finally at peace. And then the credits rolled. And after the credits finished rolling and I finished dancing, something popped up on my screen. And then it dawned upon me. There was a 9th world, and I had to get every single star in every single world and every single level. So then I quit. But everyone knows I'm not a quitter. I've never even quit in my life. I always persevere through the battle, through the struggle, through the tears. And if I could beat Dark Souls 3, hopefully, I could beat New Super Mario Bros for the Wii. So I loaded up a new save, and I grinded every star. You know I had to call Preston over so he could carry me in the game. But at the end of the night, I did it, baby. I beat every single level and got every single star in New Super Mario Bros for the Wii. I felt accomplished. There was definitely more I could do. I could try to beat the game in under 25 minutes. There are a lot of shortcuts that you can do and cannons that allow you to skip the worlds, but that seems like a lot of work. And I'm not about to spend the next 6 months of my life trying to memorize all the shortcuts. If you've never played an NSMB game, I suggest you do. It doesn't have to be the one for the Wii. It can be the one for the DS or Wii U. And if you have a Wii U, I suggest New Super Luigi U. It's a really good game, especially for being DLC, but you can also buy it separately for cheaper. NSMB is just one of those classics you get to play no matter how old you are. Buy one of these games for $15, or someone you know probably has one. And if you don't have any Nintendo devices, trust me, someone you know does. Have a friend over, and trust me, you'll have a lot of fun. But by the way, the DS games are solo, so I wouldn't invite anyone over. This game is a platformer. It has a beginning and an end. This is not a game you can play forever and ever, but you can probably play for a good month or 2. And if you're bad like me, you can probably play for multiple years. This game isn't the best Mario game ever made, but it's the one I grew up on. This game introduced me to video games, and if you've ever seen any of my videos, you'll know I really like video games. And because of that, I will always love New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. This video took me a really long time to make, so if you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe. I want to thank Preston for helping me beat this game, and yeah, NSMBW versus the video. Mark 11:25 says, "But when you are praying, first forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins too." How can we expect God, who can forgive all sins, no matter how big or small, to forgive our sins when we can't forgive others? It's pretty hypocritical and selfish for us to do this. Jesus was beaten and hung on a cross to die, and he still forgave the people that did it to him. And I think we should follow his example. Don't hold people's sinful past against them. See them how God sees them. God loves them no matter what they do, even if they wrong you. So I think we need to love them as well. It's not easy to love people, but we all need to strive to do better. I hope you guys enjoyed the verse of the week. And yeah, God be with you all. Bye.